when did you first start performing? When did you know you wanted to be an artist?
I was in Italy. I was in Palermo, Sicily, and my cousin was playing the guitar, and all these girls were swooning around him. And when I came back to LaGuardia Airport, I said, "Daddy, you got to get me a guitar. I got to have a guitar. This is it. This is my passion. I found it." And he bought me a guitar, and I played it every day, and I loved it. And it was very natural for me. It fit right into my body. I'm Italian, and the Gibson guitar just fit into my body, and I played it all the time. I started to emulate guys like Chet Atkins and the Beatles, and at that time it was "I Got a Tiger by the Tail, It's Plain to See." You know, I was playing all these kind of like country, kind of bluegrass kind of stuff, some rock and roll stuff. Remember, I started playing the guitar in 1962, and rock and roll had just started in 1957. So that's only like a few years. Elvis came out, "You ain't nothing but a hound dog." And so I was starting to pick up all these things, and then by the time I turned 12-ish, I started recruiting a couple of boys in the neighborhood to play drums and bass. And then all of a sudden my father came down to the basement and goes, "Hey, you guys are pretty good. How would you like to really make records?" And that was the beginning. In 1964, we went into the recording studio for the first time to really play, and we were doing all Beatles songs, Rolling Stones songs. And I knew that that's what I really wanted to do.
So what happened? When did you guys break up? How did you fall apart, the Young Executives?
Yeah, that's a sad but true. Good question. Let's say 12, 13, 14, 15-ish. We were booked on the Merv Griffin show, and Merv was synonymous with all these great. He had his own talk show like Johnny Carson, and it was a thrill. They called up our house one day. They go, "We'd like to book the boys on the Merv Griffin show," and we were thrilled. But at that point, there was the dynamics of some friction going on in my household because my mother lost her husband. He was so involved with the band as a personal manager, and my sister lost her daddy because we were on the road all the time. So we were like, like there was this tension, which was unnecessary actually. But when they called up for the Merv Griffin show, the glue pulled us back together again because that's what we worked towards for 2 and 3 years. And then what had happened was the boy who played bass in the band, Stephen Wagner, his father said, "Oh, Steve can't go on the show that day." And my father goes, "Why not?" He said, "Well, he's got a dentist appointment." And then when my mother heard that, my mother goes, "Lou, that's it. Stop the band. He's going to military school," And it's like all of a sudden, like ran into a wall by dreams of 3 years that we were working on the road, recording studios, on the charts, all these appearances, opening up shopping malls and this thing and that thing. And it was all of a sudden it halted within 2 seconds, and we were just on the verge of national breakout. And I felt kind of robbed by that. And my mother was very adamant about it. And the next thing I said, "I'm not going to military school. I'm not going to march with a rifle. That's not me. I'll march with the guitar on my shoulder." But we compromised, and I went to the Highland Preparatory, which was a kind of an upscale private school in New York. And they stuck me in that school. And here I come from a professional background, and now I'm in this prep school, a really good prep school, and for the next 3 years I ended up becoming the guy who put on all the shows for assembly. And I did that because I made a deal with the principal that I didn't want to go to gym at second. I had to wear a shirt and tie and a blazer. I hated getting undressed in second period and for the rest of the day, So my job was to put the show on. He loved it. He didn't have to do anything. So I then became a producer and a director, and I would audition all the talent, and the girls would say I sing and I dance, and we would do thematic things like historical things. And 3 years of that was really like going to film or theatrical school, not knowing that one day after going to Hofstra for a couple of years, that the same little boy who was in the band would then call me up and say, "Some guy's coming over to my house who wrote a play. Come on over here." I go, "Who? What's his name?" He said, "Stephen Schwartz." And at that point, I didn't know who Stephen Schwartz. I didn't know he was going to go on to win 3 Academy Awards and write Godspell, Pippin, The Magic Show, Wicked, Pocahontas, The Hunchback. This was just, "Hi, this guy Stephen Schwartz is coming over the house, bring a guitar." And think about it, and as I tell a lot of parents before they put their kids into show business, once that bug bites you, you're bitten for life. It's like you're a musical vampire. You're done. That's it forever. And all of a sudden, after 2 years of college, I walk into my friend's house and the guy goes, "Hi, I'm Stephen Schwartz, and this is my play. It's called Godspell." I go, "That's a nice name." He's playing day by day, and all these things that would go on to become, ran on Broadway for 12 years. I play guitar and sing too, and I did. He said, "You want to be in a show?" And I go, "Well, I'll have to think about it." And at that point, all the skills that Ricky, who played drums in my band, the Young Executives, the skills that we had performing for 3 years, being in the recording studio for 3 years, it was a find actually for Schwartz to find two guys to be in his backup group, to be in the band, who was that professional already. And he allowed me then to take his music, which was all piano music, into the studio, re-record it, and then play it back for him. So about 70-80% of the score of Godspell, if you listen, is pretty much guitars on top of guitars, and I played all the guitars, the acoustic guitar, electric guitar. The same guitar that I begged my father for when I was 10 years old was the same guitar that went on to take Godspell to #1 with a bullet worldwide. So I think a lot of my life started as this little boy with begging for a guitar, and it went through all these different angles of the business, because the main business is really motion picture and music and television, and that encompasses a lot. It encompasses talent, production, scripts and concepts, and bringing things to life. And somebody somewhere has to be a visionary. Somebody somewhere has to say, "You know what? Let's go to Bob Kane and make Batman a movie. Let's take comic books and turn them into movies." And by the way, I do have to say this. I was the Academy Awards party. It was 1994, I believe, or 1997. I forgot. It was one or the other. And this real tall man, I was walking around with my uncle Stanley Herman, who was an actor, who was in Pi and Requiem for a Dream, Darren Aronofsky's film, who just did The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. I remember this tall man was there with this Chinese woman, and he looks at me and he goes, "You have a great face for the movies." I go, "Gee, thanks." I thought, "Oh, maybe he's gay or something, And I'm saying, I said, that guy just kind of hit on me. My uncle said, "Do you know who that is?" I go, "No, who is it?" He said, "That's Bob Kane. That's the creator of Batman." For that guy to give you that compliment, that guy is so, penciled in all these characters. That's like the greatest compliment you could ever, whether you do a movie or ever that ever happens to you. That's like the greatest compliment you could ever have from Bob Kane himself. So that's kind of a nice little thing, in my little book, in my little diary, that in LA, you'll have a lot of opportunities to meet a lot of people. If you want to be in the film or television business, I tell everybody who's listening, go to Los Angeles and pray that you get a good agent, because that's the par for course kind of a thing.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing now and why this book, why you felt you needed to write this book.
Well, my book, Starless, The Price of Fame, really was a cathartic effort. One day I realized, looking back from when I was born in 1951, so many changes happened in society. In the 50s, it was Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best. The 60s, where they had these idyllic home life kind of families. Yes, Dad. No, Mom. Now we're in the 21st century, and it's like Ritalin and all kind of antidepressants. And so I said, I'm going to go back and reflect my life and catch up to myself, and kind of review being a little child growing up in the 50s and going into the 60s and picking up a guitar, and the guitar became my sword, like a gladiator sword, and all the adventures that magical sword, my guitar, led me to in life. I just was so surrealistic that I had to put it down in writing.
What's the price of fame? You said you bit. What do you think you were bit? Do you think that's your price of fame?
Well, I think the price of fame is really deep, actually. Willing to pay the price means, if you really want to be a performer, an actor, entertainer, or whatever, well, First of all, you have to be surrounded by top professional people. That means you're in the center of this ring. And then you have to have a personal manager, agents, business manager, public relations people. And you have to have all these spinning like satellites around you. You're now responsible for yourself, and they're responsible for each other. So it's a little team. And now you have to be able to compromise with the opportunities that come up. You have to be able to compromise, be flexible. You also have to sacrifice. You may have to sacrifice relationships. You have to sacrifice your home. You have to sacrifice the stability of normal life, of waking up every day in the same bed. I mean, think about it. I mean, you're on the road. Even if you're promoting a movie, you got to get up and fly all over the world into different Czechoslovakia, Russia, China, wherever, Australia. I mean, how could you have a normal life? I mean, your kids are not going to see you for weeks and weeks and weeks. So you're going to sacrifice for a while. It's hard to maintain normal life, what people call normal, and have a wife that doesn't see you for 2 months. A family, you know, if your family's not into what you're doing, you know, you have to have all of these things that I said before. The price of fame is sacrifice, compromise, and to be always on for your audience. You have to be able to turn it on and turn it off. And when they call you up to go here and go there, and what if you're not in the mood? What if you're not in the mood? What if you ate something and you don't feel that great? Yet there's 50,000 people at Madison Square Garden. You got to get up and walk out in front of them. It's normal not to feel good sometimes, you know. And women have their thing, and that happens regularly. And men have their thing, you know. Maybe you drank too much. Maybe you ate too many peanuts, you know, and you just got a cramp. But you got to get out there and smile and do you'll be great. And you are feeling terrible. Everybody do the duck. Everybody do the duck.
Your story of perseverance. How do you feel about looking back now? Are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, I'm proud of myself. I achieved many goals. I would say that I like the jack of all trades, but it was all the same thing no matter what I did. I was in the communication business, and I was communicating either with music, or I was communicating with scripts, or I was communicating with photography, or I was communicating with advertising. To me, it was all the same, whether it's movies or music. It's all under that umbrella of communication. And I know I'm only going to live once. There's only one lifetime for me. So unlike other people, I used to dream about being Tony Bennett now and then. And I used to say, how does that guy sing, "I left my heart in San Francisco" for the 5 billionth time? Me, I couldn't imagine it. I can't handle repetition. You know, I can only play it so many times. Godspell, I played it 800 times, and that was it. And looking back, I got to do pretty much everything all within the same world, in that microcosm. And I think now, writing the book, I'm writing my second book, the sequel to Starless, The Price of Fame. I'm writing Starless, The Game of Love. And there's a third book. I call it a trilogy, not a trilogy, a trilogy. And what it is, I think when I'm gone and I cross over the Great Divide, I think when people find my book and these 3 books, what it is a narrative from 1951 till I figured out till 2037 is 3 books: Starless, the Price of Fame, The Game of Love, and The Book of Life. And it's a narrative of a hip modern guy in the world of the entertainment world, looking through his eyes of all the people, the legendary characters that I was honored to meet and privileged to meet, from Sammy Davis to Quincy Jones to Elizabeth Taylor to some of the greatest people that are fantastic people. Even Roman Polanski was a trip and a half, to say the truth. I mean, when he did The Pianist and he won for Best Director, I mean, that was a great movie. The point is, yeah, everybody has a little problem here and there. I don't know one person in this lifetime that didn't make a mistake or didn't have a problem one way or another, that didn't kill themselves, that dusted themselves off and got up again and was forgiven. Forgive yourself and be forgiven by your peers. I mean, we all have to leave a little room for forgiveness for others and ourselves. Nobody could be the judge. We're only observers and witnesses to each other. And I think that the bottom line is, I'm writing the music in my past, and the books that I'm writing is with love, because love is the cohesive force that can move mountains, that can build kingdoms, and it could make children. And so, being a communicator, I can't think of anything greater to say or to do or be loving towards life. I mean, that's it. I think that sums it up. So looking back, I think I did pretty good. Remember, only you can prevent forest fires.